Hello and welcome. I want to introduce you to my little project called Komrade. Komrade is a simple static start page dashboard for your home lab, and instead of dealing with complicated YAML configurations, it syncs with your bookmark manager of choice like Linkwarden, Linkding or Nextcloud Bookmarks. If you're using a container manager like Docker, you can provide these variables through dedicated .env files as follows. Here the example of Linkwarden. The first variable is the provider. You type the Linkwarden. The host is your Linkwarden instance, and the token is what you can find in your user settings. Linkding works pretty similar. At provider we write Linkding, host the Linkding instance, and the token which we can create or which we actually automatically get in Linkding in our user settings as well. Nextcloud Bookmarks works a little differently. You provide Nextcloud as name, you don't need to write bookmarks. As host, your Nextcloud instance. Then you have to provide your Nextcloud user, and you have to create a token in your security settings. When your .env file is ready, then you can provide it as follows in your Docker Compose file. If you're using systems like CasaOS or Cosmos Cloud, you have to provide those variables via their UI or in the Docker Compose YAML as follows. You add instead of the env file key an environment key, and then you list just your environment variables. Before you run your Docker Compose, make sure that your local volume is accessible, because this is where your configuration files, your background image and your icons will live in. These steps will essentially install Komrade. However, at this point, you haven't set any links or display methods. And of course, the container will run, but it will not show anything if you open the URL. The easiest way is just to download the example and rename it to config.toml in the repository on Codeberg. You will find the link to the file in the description or in the documentation of the repository itself. The folder structure of your volume is pretty simple. You just place there the config toml directly in the root. You can also place on the same level your background image if you want to have one. And I would recommend, if you want to later work with custom icons, create an icons folder. So we have set our configuration file, but we haven't set any collections yet. You see, when you scroll a little bit down in the config toml, an array called collections, there you see a couple of lines, one with ID 1, ID 2 and so on. To obtain the right one, you have to go in your Linkwarden, Linkding or Nextcloud Bookmarks instance. The order of your collections in Komrade are literally from top to down. So what you set first is first, what you set last is the last collection. To get the ID in Linkwarden, you have first to select the collection, and then you have to click in the address bar and copy the number in the end of the link. You see there, your Linkwarden instance / collections, then the number. With Linkding, it's a little bit different. You go on your overview and there you see bundles. You click on a bundle and then you see like bookmarks, ? Bundle equals, and this is the number for your ID in Linkding. With Nextcloud Bookmarks, same thing. You go on your bookmarks, you go on folders. If you click a folder, you see the number. So now you should collect your collections you want to display on Komrade, write them down, maybe give a description so you have the right title. On Linkding, for example, you have to overwrite the title, because otherwise the collection will only show the ID. But it's pretty simple. I'm gonna show you. Every array item has an ID. This is your ID in your system. Then you can, with calls, set the width between 1 till 12. And if you want to overwrite the title, then you just add title equals and the title you want to set. It can be, for example, Linkding doesn't provide title, you can set a title, or you can overwrite the title from Linkwarden. You can also add optionally a description with DESC and then equals your description. By default, all links in your collection will be shown as a little card. If you want to have it a little bit more compact, for example, something which is not so important, or for example, news sites which you show lower on your site, you can add the type by adding type equals group. And there's a third thing what you can do. For example, you have a couple of bookmarks you don't want to show on your dashboard, but you want to access them over the comment panel. You can set the type on invisible, and then they are invisible on the start page itself, but still accessible and searchable over your comment panel. You might see on my example that some of my links have no icon at all. So you have to understand how Komrade obtains their icons. There are actually 3 ways. It has a hierarchy, or in simple words, first Komrade will look in the custom icon folder which is provided in the root under icons, and if it finds that, it will provide the icon. If it cannot find it there, then it will look in self-host icons. This package will be downloaded when you create the Docker image. And if it cannot find in both of those ways, it will look on DuckDuckGo in their icons API. So in this specific case, the issue is that if you have a homelab, you have a couple of systems or services you don't expose to the internet. So they cannot be scraped by DuckDuckGo, and you have to provide a custom icon or name it to a scheme if it's something which is available on self-host icon. I will put you a link and then you can search with the right naming scheme. So I'm talking about naming scheme. Essentially it means if, for example, your link is called Home Assistant with a space and with the first uppercase, then you should be good to go, because the naming scheme in self-host icons is home minus assistant and the file name, what it is. You might notice that the first start will take a couple of seconds and your CPU will really peak. This is because if you use a lot of custom icons or self-host icons, Shop.js, this is a library for creating thumbnails via a Node.js, will create all those thumbnails. But when you have created them once, the next start will be fast and smooth. Before we dive deep into the configuration, let us talk about the comment panel in Komrade. Komrade allows you to search obviously all your bookmarks, but if you have no match, it will automatically open the default search engine which is set in Komrade at the moment, DuckDuckGo. You can even set your own search engine. For example, you don't like DuckDuckGo, you want to go with Google or with Ecosia or something else, you can do that. I'm going to show it to you in the configuration section. You can also switch on the fly between light and dark mode, but this setting will be only stored in your browser. The last thing which is currently supported by Komrade is to refresh your collection. This will rebuild your whole collection and add all the things which haven't been synced so far, and also create new thumbnails of new links. The same, by the way, happens all the time when you restart the container or when you save the config toml. Then it will also completely rebuild your whole instance. So let's go back to the configuration. The first thing you can set is the main color. Komrade uses CSS variables, which is super useful. For example, now with the color, you can just set one hexadecimal or RGB, HSL, whatever you need. It will work and will calculate on the certain spaces or places the right color. If you want to test around with colors, I would recommend just to use the Chrome or the Firefox developer tools and look for the root variable for the primary color. Then you can tailor fit it in the browser, copy the value and add it to the config toml. The second thing you can set is the default mode. You remember that I said you can store in your browser your preference for light or dark mode. Here you can set the default mode. It means if you use Komrade on different devices, it will always use the one which you set in a config toml. The third thing you can set is an array for the background image, and you can set with the image key the name of the background image you have stored in your root folder. With blur, you can set a pixel amount for your blur for the background. With brightness, obviously the brightness of your background, 100% is default brightness, below is darker, above is brighter. And with opacity, you can set the opacity of the background image. Next, you can set the font size. You can use pixels, EM or rem. Next is border radius, you can use the same units. The default value is 9. And then we have the wrapper. This is the limiter for your main container. You can limit it by a certain size, like for example the default with 1880 pixels, or using 100% to have a fluid layout which goes over the full width. Then we have the collections. We already talked about them, so you should be good to go. Below the collections you have another array. This one is for the search engines. As you can see, there is an exclamation mark and D, and you see the DuckDuckGo address and this percentage with S, which means search string. Some of you know already the feature maybe from DuckDuckGo or from your browser, because you can set in a lot of browsers nowadays your custom search engine. In short, you can set a prefix, for example exclamation mark A, and then just copy the search query from Amazon and add in the end instead of your keyword just percentage S, and then you should be able to use it in Komrade as well. And the final option which is left is refresh interval. This is just the amount of time before the whole collections will be automatically rebuilt. I showed you already how you can do it manually. It's the same. It just does it after 3600 seconds, which is 1 hour by default, but you can increase or decrease the number. It's mainly there to reduce the rate limits, or when you're super confident and you say, hey, I want to mainly do it manually, then you can put it on a week if you want to, but you have to do the math yourself. So that's it. I hope this was interesting to you, and I hope you have your instance already running, and I hope this will be as useful for you as it was for me. If you have any questions, write a comment, like this video, or make an issue on Codeberg. Also, subscription would be nice. See you soon, guys. Bye.